It's 1:17 in the morning. You have to be up in 5 hours, and you're watching a video about a dog. Right after a video about a war. Right after a video about nothing. You know you should sleep. You're going to scroll anyway. Here's why. Your brain is exhausted. Your willpower is gone. And somewhere between dinner and midnight, your phone became the only thing in your life that doesn't ask anything back. That's why. This video is about doom scrolling before bed. Not the distracted kind, the deliberate kind, where you're exhausted, you want to sleep, you know you should sleep, and you keep going anyway. What you're really doing feels more like reclaiming something you lost somewhere during the day. Researchers gave this a name, and the name tells you everything about where it came from, and nothing about where it's going to take you. It's called revenge bedtime procrastination. It was coined in China among a generation of workers putting in crushing hours, leaving the office after dark, arriving home just in time to fall asleep and start the whole cycle over again. The only window that felt like freedom, those hours after everyone else had gone to bed, the phone wasn't the point. The staying up was the point. And that instinct to steal back a few hours that feel like yours hasn't gone anywhere. It just found a new home. What's new is that we now have a device perfectly engineered to fill that window with something that feels like reward, without actually costing us any effort. Psychologist Floor Kroos at Utrecht University found that people who felt low self-control during the day were significantly more likely to procrastinate at bedtime. Not because they lacked willpower, because they were depleted. And a depleted brain doesn't want to make good decisions. It wants a hit of something easy. That's where the scrolling comes in. Social media feeds aren't designed to satisfy you. They're designed to sustain a specific kind of tension, a loop of novelty, mild alarm, and occasional reward. There's a term psychologists use for what your feed is doing to you at midnight. It's not from social media research. It's from a completely different industry, one that figured this out decades before smartphones existed. Neuroscientists call it variable ratio reinforcement. It's the same mechanism behind slot machines. In other words, your phone is a slot machine. A slot machine that occasionally shows you a dog doing something stupid, and somehow that's enough to keep pulling the lever. And at midnight, when your prefrontal cortex is running on fumes, the pull becomes almost irresistible. The algorithm didn't create this vulnerability. It just found a door that was already open. That door was built during the day. And the person who built it probably looks nothing like you'd expect. Front desk, 8 hours of other people's urgency. At 5:30, she finally closed the door behind her and opened TikTok before she even reached her car, because her brain hadn't figured out yet that it was allowed to stop. Not one decision during the day was hers. By midnight, the feed was the only place that didn't need anything from her in return. Software engineer, remote, Slack always open. He was eating dinner when the notification came in. Just a quick check, he told himself. 40 minutes later, he was still typing. By the time he closed the laptop, the evening was gone. Not stolen, just dissolved. So at 1 a.m., horizontal in the dark, the scrolling wasn't laziness. It was the first moment all day that belonged only to him. Different jobs, different problems, same screen at 1 a.m. Your mother, maybe, sitting at the kitchen table after everyone else had gone to bed. A cup of tea gone cold. Nothing happening. But the quiet was hers. She didn't need to earn it. She just sat in it. Now you have the same hour. You just have a feed instead of a cold cup of tea. And somewhere in the back of your mind, you know the feed isn't giving you what she had. But you can't quite find the off switch, so you keep going. Here's the part that doesn't make sense on the surface. The stuff you're watching at midnight, a lot of it isn't relaxing. It's upsetting. And yet, you keep going. There's a reason for that. And it's not the one you think. The doomscrolling isn't despite the anxiety. It's because of it. At midnight, your nervous system doesn't particularly care whether that something is wonder or dread. It just wants to not be flat. This habit was trained. You spend 8, 10, 12 hours being responsive, regulated, useful. By the time you're finally horizontal in the dark, the phone isn't a failure of character. It's a pressure valve. The real question isn't why you can't put the phone down. It's why midnight feels like the only time you're allowed to exist for yourself. The idea that your rest has to be earned. That you have to finish everything before you're allowed to stop. And because everything is never actually finished, you're never actually allowed. So you take it anyway, at the worst possible time, at the cost of the next day. And the cost feels worth it, because at least it was yours. Before you open the app tonight, there are 3 questions worth asking. Most people only ever ask themselves one of them, and it's usually the wrong one. 1. Am I bored? Or have I been so busy all day that stillness feels wrong, and I need the noise just to feel normal? 2. Am I lonely? Or have I been surrounded by people all day in a way that left me feeling more alone, and I'm looking for a connection that doesn't ask anything of me? 3. Or do I just need permission to stop, and no one has given it to me, so I'm lying here in the dark, waiting for exhaustion to take the choice away, because at least then, it won't feel like quitting? If you can name it, you might not need the feed to answer it. You just watched a video about why you can't stop watching videos. So, what was it for you? Leave a number. 1, 2, or 3. And if some part of you wants to come back here again, that's what the subscribe button is for. It's 1:17 in the morning. Somewhere out there, a dog is doing something stupid on camera, and someone is going to watch it 47 times tonight instead of sleeping. Maybe that's you. Maybe it was always going to be you. You're tired in a way that tomorrow's coffee won't fix. Not because you're broken, because you've been running on a system that never gave you enough time to feel like a person. Maybe tonight, that's enough to know.